Welcome back to another session of the Donor Conversation Weekly. My name's Brian Funk with Practivated. Here at Practivated, we are the first ever and only AI donor conversation platform. It is a space where you can prepare for all of the situational challenges that you could face in a donor meeting to help you turn the conversation into impact. Every single week, we're coming live to you on Wednesday morning with a new conversation scenario all through year end, every single week, to help fundraisers across the sector prepare and think through how to best prepare for upcoming conversations you may be having in the lead up to and throughout the giving season. So, really excited to welcome my colleague Charlotte, who's going to kick us off with a brand new donor conversation simulation this week. Charlotte, welcome. Let us
Yeah.
know what are we working through today?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. We are doing a fun conversation today that is around new major gift prospecting. So it's very much a discovery conversation to kind of set the scene. This is a loyal mid-level donor who has maybe recently experienced a major financial change or shift, and it has signaled to your team or to you that there's some potential there for a major gift. And so this conversation is where the fundraiser can focus on uncovering, the donor's motivations, understanding their priorities, and assessing alignment for a possible step up gift. So again, this is a really engaged donor, frequent donor that has had a financial change that might indicate shifting to major gift. And really, this isn't about making an ask today. This is about listening, learning more about, like I said, their motivations and deepening that donor relationship while establishing the grounds for future giving, so maybe a potential major gift down the road. So kind of seeing if there's alignment there, and just deepening that connection.
Amazing. Our hope for today's conversation is that we can also showcase how AI can actually help sharpen and strengthen what we would call here at Practivated, which is the number one most irreplaceable skill set and talent, uh, as a part of every nonprofit team, and that is the human capacity to create connection. So this is a great showcase in how AI can have an impact on your team. And I think maybe Charlotte, before we dive in, do you want to just give folks a high level view of what we're going to dive into in terms of the donor simulation and then the coaching feedback?
Yeah, absolutely. So today we're going to jump into our practice scenarios section of our platform in Practivated, which is where we have pre-built donor scenarios for you to practice real life donor conversations around many topics, many relationship phases, developing across 16 different skill sets. And I'll share when we jump into the platform, kind of how to filter down those conversations. So today we'll dive into that major gift prospect conversation, and then following the conversation, you get feedback and a scoring sheet. And so we have 16 different skills that you're scored on. We can then dig deeper into each of those scores. It's around, fundraising skills, communication and delivery skills, kind of foundational alignment skills. And so we'll dive deeper into a couple of those, and you can even then talk to our AI coach, Coach Tivy, who can help you further evaluate what you could have done differently or changed in your conversation to strengthen that skill. So maybe it's ask effectiveness, and you could have laid out a stronger ask with defined next step in that conversation. So we'll dive into that following the conversation today.
Amazing. Super helpful. Let's kick it off and get the conversation started.
Yeah, so like I said, this is our practice scenario section of the platform. You can search by avatar type here. So this is just a type of donor. And then you can also look at different relationship phases. So this one would be not major gift yet because they're not a major gift, so they might be engaged here. You can look at different phases there, and then skill indicators as well. So if you're really wanting to build confidence, or insight gathering is one that this would be. You can select what skills you're wanting to strengthen and then filter down there. Then you're going to come over here. You'll see the goal for your conversation, and then you will select the difficulty level. So you can do easy, medium, or hard difficulty. I always recommend just kind of going in at easy mode, seeing how it goes, and then you can practice these conversations over and over. So really take a look at your score sheet and then maybe dive in with a more difficult level to strengthen those different skill sets. All right, let's dive in.
Oh, hi. Yes, I have a few minutes. I wasn't expecting a call, but I'm always happy to chat. What's new with the organization these days?
Hi, Alex. Yeah, it's Charlotte from Tivy University, and I just wanted to thank you so much for taking a few minutes. I appreciate the time. I know unexpected calls can be a bit of a surprise. So I wanted to share a highlight about a recently launched fellowship we have here at Tivy University called Launchpad Fellowship. And I wanted to just talk to you a little bit more about that new fellowship around some of our entrepreneurial students here at Tivy University, and also just check in. You're a loyal donor to Tivy University, and just see how you're doing and if that was of interest to you today. Do you have a few minutes to chat?
Yeah, absolutely, Charlotte. That actually sounds really interesting. Launchpad Fellowship, you said? I don't think I've heard about that yet. Is it pretty new? And thanks for checking in. I'm doing well these days. It's nice to hear from you all. Tyvy's always been close to my heart, so I'm glad to hear some new and exciting things are happening on campus. What's the fellowship all about? Is it tied to student startups or business ideas?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, Alex. And I'll be brief. I wanted to just give one highlight about the Launchpad Fellowship. It supports undergraduates with innovative business ideas, just like you said, business students, by providing mentorship, seed funding, and access to alumni networks. In our first cohort, 10 student ventures will be launching, and three will receive follow-up funding. And I wanted to connect because I saw that you've supported our entrepreneurship initiatives before. And I'd really love to hear from some of our donors to entrepreneurship what's most meaningful to them right now. So I wanted to reach out and connect, and just ask what first drew you to support entrepreneurship at Tivy.
Oh, sure, yeah, that makes sense. I remember giving to the Entrepreneurship Fund a couple years back, I think when they were expanding the co-working space for students near the Innovation Hub. I've always liked the idea of helping students who are taking smart risks early in life. That energy, that mix of trial and error and big dreaming, I think it's just such a valuable part of the college experience. What really drew me in, though, was hearing one of the students present an idea at an alumni event. This was pre-COVID, a mobile app for food insecurity on campuses, I think. I remember thinking, wow, they're tackling real problems, not just building gadgets. That stuck with me, and I guess personally I've walked that road a little myself. I left corporate about 4 years ago to try building something of my own. That makes you appreciate how a little support early on can go a long way. Mentors, space to test ideas, and yes, even a bit of startup capital. So it's good to hear this new fellowship is off the ground. Sounds like the kind of thing I'd want to keep an eye on.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear. And thank you for sharing a little bit about your journey in entrepreneurship and what has inspired you to give to Tivy University around our business students. That's really helpful to hear. It sounds like seeing these ventures in action is really meaningful for you. When you think about increasing your support, would you be more interested in funding a specific student, a mentorship, sponsoring a cohort? I just wanted to kind of gain some insight into how your priorities have shifted in giving, and if you could share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, happy to share a bit. I mean, I haven't really sat down and mapped out exactly what I want my future giving to look like, but this kind of program lines up well with the values that matter to me in terms of how I think I'd be more motivated by a chance to support individuals. Like if there was a way to follow the journey of one or two students through the fellowship, that would give my support a real face, but I also see the value in enabling a broader cohort, laying the groundwork, so to speak. I guess I'd be open to hearing about both models. I will say things have shifted for me a bit recently. I sold the business I'd been building just last year. A bittersweet decision, but ultimately the right one. The good thing is, it's opened up a bit more flexibility, both time wise and financially, and I've been thinking more about impact and legacy, I guess you could say. I'm not rushing to make fast decisions, but I'm starting to consider where I could go deeper in my giving. So I'd be curious. How does Tivy envision someone getting more involved with Launchpad? Are there ways to engage beyond just writing a check?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you, Alex, again for sharing that. That's such exciting news. Congratulations. I know it kind of bittersweet, as you said, but I'm sure that's a really big step for you and just opens up a lot of opportunities. So congratulations on that. And completely understand, wanting to think further about whether you would want to focus in on a single student or cohort. And actually, a big reason for me coming to you today is just getting kind of your feedback on this. We are doing some of the layout of how this program would work, and currently selection combines like faculty review, student interviews, and a business feasibility assessment for our students, and then the funding goes directly to project costs. And then we're hoping to track outcomes via the launches and kind of some metrics there. But I would love to talk to you further about this program since you have experience in entrepreneurship and you're an alum and really engaged in the university. I can send over, some more information about the project and the fellowship that we're building. And then if you would be interested, I'd love to schedule some time, maybe a coffee to just get your thoughts on the whole program.
Charlotte, that actually sounds really appealing. I like that you're still shaping the program and gathering input. It feels authentic, and I respect that you're reaching out to voices who've walked that path a bit. I'd love to get a closer look at that material you mentioned, and I'd be happy to sit down and talk it through more thoughtfully. Over coffee sounds great. Something low pressure where we can just riff on ideas a bit. I'm not saying yes to anything today, of course, but I really appreciate being part of the conversation early on. That means a lot. And who knows, maybe there's a way for me to contribute beyond the financial side, sharing what worked and what didn't from when I was building my venture. I'll keep an open mind. Just shoot me sometimes that work and I'll make sure we find a window. I'm around town next week and the one after. Looking forward to hearing more.
Oh, Alex, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for being willing to help us shape this Launchpad Fellowship. It's really meaningful to us to have an alum directly tied to kind of the program outline and what we're building here. So let's do, if you're available next week, you said you're in town, I'll send over a quick email with some times on Wednesday and Thursday next week, and I'll send over a one-pager on the fellowship so you have some more information from that side of things. And yeah, we would love to explore how you can be involved, both, outside of financially with this fellowship as well. Like if you want to sponsor it or you want to kind of lead a discussion or kick it off or be our host, any of that is, flexible. And we'd really, really appreciate your support and engagement in the fellowship. So I'm really looking forward to the conversation.
That all sounds really great, Charlotte. I appreciate the thoughtful follow up and the spirit of collaboration. It's refreshing, honestly. Go ahead and send that email with the one pager, and sometimes for next week, Wednesday or Thursday should work. Just depends a bit on how my schedule shakes out, but I'll make sure to prioritize the conversation. I'm definitely curious to dig into how this fellowship is.
I'm gonna cut it short a little bit there just to so we can dive into some metrics and questions with Tivy. And that was fun.
Yeah, amazing. I think while those while your results tabulate there, I'm curious. You've done a lot of these simulations, Charlotte, and in your experience, the one we just did was set to easy. Like, what are some of the differentiations and changes that take place when you increase the difficulty of the conversation?
Yeah, I feel like with the different levels, it's less about the donor kind of shifting to different questions and kind of uh, becoming a little bit less focused and all over the place, and more about the donors' feelings and response to the fundraiser. So, are they more skeptical of what you're building? Are
Mm,
they gonna push back when offered a chance to participate in the program? Or are they really open and transparent about their journey and want to share that with you? There's some kind of um, there's some feedback there too from the donor, maybe in response to how you're approaching them. Like, they might say they don't have enough time that day, or they might say, I need time to think about this before I even say yes to a coffee chat. So it's all about kind of the um, the donor's feelings and responses to what the fundraiser is sharing, and how you navigate that, like pushback or tension, or um, maybe they're kind of telling you they don't have time or things like that. So
yeah.
that would be the
So you
difference in the levels.
Yeah, so you'll get a little bit more friction, you'll get some
Yeah.
objections, you'll get some skepticism, which kind
Yeah.
of keeps you as the fundraiser
Mhm.
on your toes, adaptable,
Yeah.
flexible, and kind of like pressure testing those scenarios. Very
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah, there
Very
might be
cool.
some, questions around, like, budget, or, there might be some detailed questions that come out of it, when you get into those more difficult levels too, around, around, like, budget or their own interests. So it definitely, keeps you kind of on your toes, like you said, thinking about, how to navigate those different challenges that come up in a donor conversation.
Amazing. I'm excited to see how you were scored.
Yeah. All right. So, like I said, Coach Tivy gives us 16 different scores scores on 16 different skills in these four buckets here. So, communication and delivery. If you take a look at your score, so strong reach here, it'll show over here. Where you are in the circle. If you want to know more about that score, you can go up here, and it gives you each level here. So, Tivy level talent will be your top. Just a ripple is like Tivy didn't gather enough information to really score you on that. And so then you can look at each of your scores here. And then from there, it'll give you, if you click into, let's see, navigating tension and pushback. So it'll give you a little bit of what was noticed in the conversation, why that matters in an effective donor conversation, and what to try next. If you want to dive deeper into some strategies for improving that specific skill in this type of conversation, you can come here and talk with Tivy about the score. Quickly before I jump into that, though, I did want to quickly show you the transcript. There's a summary, top donor questions that were given during the conversation, and then this also pulls in some key phrases that I said during the conversation that could be repurposed in future donor conversations with the same donor or other donors around this topic. And then, yes, the full transcript. Okay, let's dive in. I'm going to talk to Tivy about this navigating tension or pushback. I'm curious. I do feel like there were a few times I almost maybe avoided those instead, and just went in the direction of, let's get face to face and talk through this program, um, rather than like getting into the nitty gritty over the phone call. So I'm curious what Tivy has to say about this.
Hello, Charlotte. How can I support you in improving the navigating tension or pushback? I've seen your feedback and conversation. Let's explore how we can strengthen this area together.
Yeah, Tivy, thanks. I felt like I did maybe try to steer the conversation towards getting that in-person coffee to really get this donor's interest in the program and alignment and see if they wanted to be more involved in kind of creating this fellowship with us. And so I feel like in doing so, I almost avoided some of those kind of concerns or objections he had initially. What would you say, I could have done differently to address some of those?
Great awareness, Charlotte. You're right. By pivoting quickly to a coffee meeting, you created space for deeper connection later. But it did mean a few subtle hesitations went unacknowledged. When Alex said, "I'm not saying yes to anything today," that was a signal. Not a hard objection, but a gentle guardrail. Instead of pivoting past it, you could have lightly named and normalized it.
Mhm.
Something as simple as, "Absolutely, this isn't about a decision today. I really appreciate you being open to just exploring ideas with us," would have honored his pace and built even more trust. When donors sense you're not rushing them, they actually open up more and earlier. Want to try a quick phrase you could use next time you hear that kind of soft boundary?
So just gonna stop our feedback coaching there, but great feedback from Coach Tivy as always. She called out a specific phrase, a specific question or concern the donor had brought up that they weren't ready, they weren't ready right in that moment to make a decision. And as I had said, I kind of worked my way around that by trying to get time with them in person. And Coach Tivy says, it's totally okay and really great if you acknowledge that and make the donor feel heard that they're not ready for a decision right now and they're still navigating and want to ask questions and understand more and learn more before making any big decisions. And so I think making sure to acknowledge that that they're saying that in the conversation like Coach Tivy did, and then maybe moving forward with the conversation to set up a in-person coffee is what I would do in my next conversation.
Amazing. Well, that's a wrap on another session of the Donor Conversation Weekly. That was really helpful, diving in with, a loyal donor that's had a big moment in life or shown a signal that they might have greater capacity to give. So thanks for walking us through that, Charlotte. I also want everyone to know that if you're interested, we've actually analyzed hundreds of donor conversation simulations that are being run by real fundraisers just like you. This latest report shows some data and trends in our sector across 370 simulations from 106 fundraisers. And it's a great showcase on where do we do a great job in our sector and where are the areas where we can strengthen some of our skill sets and see some improvements in terms of closing the gap, in terms of making the transition from building a relationship to accelerating giving. So scan this QR code, check out this report. It's absolutely incredible. And we'll be back next week for a whole other donor conversation scenario. So until next time, we'll see you then. Thanks, Charlotte.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. With every modern tool and technology available to us, why do we still struggle to meet the donor where they are in their journey? It's because technology can't replace the number one skill set fundraisers use and need every single day to move from insights to action: the art of human conversation and connection. Because conversations move missions. The right conversation can unlock generosity, deepen trust, and fuel impact. But fundraisers rarely get a safe place to practice those high-stakes moments. That's why we built Practivated, the first AI-powered donor conversation simulator built just for fundraisers. Our AI coach, Tivy, provides real-time, personalized feedback so every fundraiser can build confidence, sharpen their storytelling, and strengthen relationships.
I'm your strategic fundraising coach built right into Practivated. My whole focus is helping fundraisers like you take confident, high-impact action by aligning with what truly drives donor behavior. I'm trained in evidence-backed strategies that center authentic connection, ethical storytelling, and time-smart execution. Nothing fluffy, all results-oriented. So whether you're navigating a tricky donor conversation, refining your outreach, or battling fundraising fatigue, I'm here for just-in-time guidance that's practical and actionable.
Ready to see it in action? Step into practice today. Practivated. Confidence for every conversation.